Hi there, 8th graders and parents. This is lesson 4 of module 6, construct functions. The I can statement says I can construct functions based on verbal description, tables, and graphs. So let's look at the spark you're learning. A scuba diver descends from the surface of the ocean at a constant rate of 5 feet per minute to a maximum depth of 130 feet. The diver's depth in feet y is a function of the number of minutes x since the diver began descending. And they tell you that it's a constant rate, so that helps you know some things. What do you know about the function? So they give you some information, maybe draw a table, you think about a number line. There's a lot that you can do, just make any and all observations that you can about what's happening there. You can do this turn and talk. Consider a function where x represents the number of people. Is this function discrete or continuous? What must be true of all x values? So that's a good question to think about as well. So pause there, work on that a little bit, and then we can go on to the build understanding. All right, so let's look at the build understanding. Number 1 says the parking lot near the scuba company opens for the day at 6 a.m. Between 7 a.m. and 11 a.m., cars park at a constant rate of 50 per hour. At 10 a.m., 165 cars are parked in the lot. Write an equation that represents the situation in the form y equals mx plus b. And then A, they tell you write the ordered pair that represents 165 cars parked at 10 a.m. So you're going to have an xy and an ordered pair that has an input and an output of that's showing that 165 cars are parked there at 10 a.m. What does each coordinate of the point represent? So think about the fact that you know that you're going to have, you're going to have an ordered pair in the form xy, where x is your input and y is your output. So you have to think about what is your, if you were looking at a graph, what would the x-axis be labeled? Would it be hours? Would it be times? Would it be number of cars? What's your input? So they tell you, they're talking about hours, and they tell you that the rate that the cars go in starting at 7 a.m. is 50 per hour. So that'll help you with figuring out what's your input. And then you also need to think about what's your initial value. Even though the parking lot opens at 6 a.m., cars don't really start coming in until 7 a.m. And they don't tell you that there are 0 cars at 7 a.m. They just tell you that that's when the cars start coming in that day at a constant rate of 50 per hour. So that's all going to help you write this equation in the form y equals mx plus b. So they want you to write that equation, and remember the constant rate of change is what's going to help you figure out what your slope is. So write the ordered pair that represents 165 cars parked at 10 a.m. What does each coordinate, what is the x coordinate, what is the y coordinate, what is that telling you? B, what is the slope of the function? Use the slope and the point from part A to find the y-intercept and write the equation of the line. So they tell you to do it up here, but really this is where you'll write that equation, the y equals mx plus b equation. And then they ask you, can time be a fractional number? Why or why not? Can the number of cars be a fractional number? Explain that. Is this function discrete or continuous? So will you have points on your graph or a continuous line? And why? F, what are some restrictions for the possible values of y? And then they ask you why. G, what are some restrictions for the possible values of x? What does the y-intercept of the function represent in this equation? So go ahead and pause there. That's a lot of questions, a lot to think about, and then we'll go to the next page. All right, so let's look at number 2 in the step it out. It says a factory produces mobile phones at a constant rate. The table shown here shows 4 ordered pairs whose points exist on the graph of the function representing the factory's output. In the ordered pairs, x is the number of shifts worked, so this is the x coordinate, these 2, 5, 6, and 8. And y is the number of mobile phones produced. So this tells you how many mobile phones were produced, for example, in 2 shifts, in 5 shifts, in 6 shifts, and in 8 shifts. Write the equation of the linear function that includes these points in the form y equals mx plus b. So again, kind of in the build understanding, you don't have to actually write that equation until D. They're going to give you some help along the way. So let's look at A, complete the sentence to describe how to find the slope of the graph of the function. Find the change in blank values divided by the change in blank values. So remember, rise over run, the ratio of the change in y to the change in x, that can help you to find the fill in the blanks there. B, any two given points can be used to find the slope of a line. Use 2 and 240 and 5 and 600 to find the slope of the line. So you're going to fill in the blanks here, and that'll give you some help with that. You're going to end up finding the slope. C, use the x and y values from 240, and the slope from part B, so whatever you end up with here as your slope, you'll use that to help you and solve for B. So you're just plugging those numbers in there, and and the m that you have here will go here. So that'll help you find the slope. And now you can write the equation of the line because you have the slope and you have the y-intercept. And then they ask again, is this function discrete or continuous? And explain. And F, are there any restrictions on the domain or the range values? And explain that as well. So pause there, and then we'll go on to number 3 after you've finished number 2. So let's look at number 3. The following graph shows the weight of a newborn giant panda from birth to 16 months of age. Write the linear function of the form in the form y equals mx plus b. So they say that, and then you're actually not going to do it till down here. They give you some help in steps A and B. Use the points identified on the graph to find the slope of the line. So they give you these 2 points. After 4 months, the panda weighs 29 pounds. After 10 months, the panda weighs 71 pounds. So use those points here to help you find the slope. Then you'll use the x and y values from either point to solve and find the y-intercept. So go ahead and do that. Then with the b here and the m here, you can find and write the equation of the line. So pause the video there, finish number 3. Then when you finish that, you can go on and do this check understanding, and then we'll look at the next page. So if you did the check understanding and you feel great, then go ahead and do this on your own section, both these 2 pages. After the on your own, if you want more practice, you can do this homework page, but it's optional. Do the test prep and the spiral review just to give you some more extra practice with standardized testing questions here, and then just review of different concepts in the review. And then we'll be headed to lesson 5 for the next day.